Everyone wants to hit $1 million in revenue. It's kind of the milestone. Once you get there, people assume that you've made it.
Yeah.
And does that actually mean you're rich?
For most business owners that don't have their bookkeeping done, they don't look at the numbers every month. On paper, it would feel like they are rich, but their take home would say otherwise.
All right, good to know.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Always Bookkeeping YouTube channel. My name is Alana, and I'm sitting down today with one of the owners of Always Bookkeeping, Tony. And Tony, I'm really excited about today's topic. What are we talking about?
We're talking about how if you're a business owner and make $1 million in revenue and somehow still feel broke or not moving anywhere with the business or your personal life, this video is for you.
Perfect. So a lot of $1 million owners, they are at $1 million, but they don't feel like they've made it. Why is that?
Sometimes the owner is still stressed because the cash flow is tight. They're late on paying the subcontractor, paying the suppliers, paying, overhead for the business, and their lifestyle didn't really change. They still bring home just as much as like a regular job, or sometimes even less than someone that they pay for within the business, like one of the senior associate or senior journeyman. They would bring home more, and the owner still make less, even though the business make $1 million. So that's a lot of cases that we see with business owner that grow really quick, get to grind really hard, work 6 days, 7 days a week, 80 hours a week, and get the business to $1 million, but doesn't feel like it.
That's kind of scary, actually.
It's super scary, and it's the reality of a lot of business owners.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So in this video, we're going to break down where the money actually goes. Yeah,
we can do like a realistic breakdown of $1 million revenue for the business. We're going to use real example of people that we work with, and we help to bring them out of the slum, actually looking at the numbers, dig deeper, and see what is actually going wrong and how can we help.
Perfect. Yeah. So what do you think the biggest misconception is when someone says $1 million business? What do people usually think?
They think that the business owner bring home $1 million. That's the first thing. Oh, my business make $1 million revenue. You must be super rich. You have a big home, fancy car, a Lamborghini driving around the city, expensive vacation, 5-star hotel, business class flight. But in reality, they bring home maybe $50,000 from $1 million business.
Wow, that sounds really reasonable.
Yeah, and so let's jump right into it. So let's say we have a client A that have a home building business or subcontracting business that they do, landscaping or whatever service business that they do, and they make $1 million in revenue. And let me ask you this: like, if the expense is $900,000, are you really rich or?
No.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like if you have $1 million and your expenses are $900,000, $950,000, and you're left with change, you're not really rich, and your business isn't really successful. So,
right. So you probably have to pay employees on top of that, or is that included?
So that's after everything. That's your net. Yeah. And as a business, a lot of business owner mistake net profit for owners take home. Right. You have to consider, like taxes and all that before owners take home. And we're going to go through it with the real example here.
All right. So walking through that, what does a $1 million business actually look like?
So if you have a $1 million business and it looks great on paper, and we take in direct costs. So let's say material, supplies, rental expenses, subcontractor, and job-related costs like insurance, whatever that you pay to get the job done, that's your direct cost. And let's say that's $450,000.
Okay.
That's $1 million minus $450,000.
That's almost half.
Almost half gone. And that's usually pretty conservative for a service business, like, a contracting business. Okay. And then you would have, next would be employees. You would have, let's be conservative here. You have like a part-time admin person, have a part-time support role that you want in your business at $1 million revenue. You need that type of help.
Right.
And I would say, for a year, you probably spend somewhat around like $250,000 on support roles and, payroll beside subcontractor and direct costs. So that's $700,000 into payroll already that's gone out of window. So you're left with $300,000 for overhead.
Right.
And now we're taking a look at overhead. So you have rent, you have utilities, you have insurance, you have vehicle expense, and everything in between that, whether or not you bring in the revenue, you have to pay for at that level.
Right.
And then you have marketing. If you want to, and I haven't seen any business that do $1 million in revenue that have no marketing expenses. You have to have marketing going. Let's say that's $25,000 to $50,000 in ad spend. You have website, you have lead generation, you have boot camp, you have networking events you have to go to. You have to fly to Fridays. You have to fly to certain city to visit like QuickBooks Online like convention.
Right.
Or for roofing business, you have to go to home show. You have to pay for a table. You have to pay for staff to go with you. So marketing could get really expensive, and everything else in between like software, accounting, legal. Miscellaneous expenses that you take your clients out to eat, you take your staff out to eat, you pay for office expenses. That's another $25,000 to $50,000 a year.
So where does that leave us?
That's conservatively you would have already spent $800,000 to $900,000 and left you with $100,000 in net profit before even paying taxes and owners pay. So,
wow. And none of those expenses seemed out to lunch or too high. Like that seemed very reasonable.
I mean, reasonable as in for a business owner that is not doing as well as they thought. Just because, we have to look at, is $550,000 in overhead, or not in overhead, in direct costs reasonable for your industry? It really depends on industry to industry. But, most of the time the payroll is where we see most of the problem, over hiring really early, getting staff that you don't really need, paying for all these expenses that we could really cut back on. Like if this job require only one senior journeyman and then the rest would be just, junior journeyman or, apprentice or internship, whatever the case may be, we would look into it. Like you don't need to have, a guy doing a kitchen for 100 billable hours and he only need 60 if it was you doing the job, I mean?
Right.
Like, so realistically, how long does it take you to get a job done? And, are you overpaying an employee? Are you overhiring? Are you paying too much for expenses? Things like that we look into. And that $100,000 doesn't take into consideration that you have to pay taxes.
Right.
And that's not on the net profit and loss statement that the business owner usually look at. So you have, payroll expense, you have payroll taxes, you have income taxes, you have GST, you have whole other side of the business that doesn't reflect on your profit and loss. So
right. All right. So there's $100,000 and then there's taxes on top of that. So about how much is the business owner taking home?
The business owner in this scenario probably realistically take home $70,000 to $80,000 a year from $1 million business. And
wow,
that sounds really, really bad and sad just because may as well get a job somewhere, with your level of expertise, leadership experience,
Right.
You can double that working somewhere else instead of running a stressful job that you work 6 days a week, 7 days a week and not really fairly compensated for you running that $1 million business.
So people are leaving their jobs where they're making $80,000 a year, working 40 hours a week, no overtime, no weekends, no evenings. And then they start their own business and this is their reality.
That's right. And they even work more as a business owner. Do you think about working on a job for, 80 hours a week, 60 hours a week, 70 hours, whatever the case may be, but then you're not considering the time that you're not actually making any money, but you still work. You still have to, come up with marketing plan. You still have to look at, the trend for your business, how to improve it, things that you do outside of office hours, outside of a job site that you're not considering, that not bringing you any money right now, but hopefully potentially bringing you money in the long run. But, you could get up to like 100 hours a week that you're getting compensated for 80 hours a year that,
right.
You work that same amount of hours in 2 weeks.
Right.
So, yeah, realistically, business owner bring home like 60 hours, $60,000 a year from a job that's super stressful. So we have to be able to look at the numbers and help them get out of that slump.
All right. So how does that happen?
So we have to look at your gross margin. So if a job costs you $100,000, we want to be able to see you only spend $60,000 to $70,000 from direct costs. So that leaves us with at least 35 to 45% gross profit margin.
Okay.
Some people is going to look at this and say, hey, that's really high, but you're not taking into consideration that, let's say you run a restaurant and this week or this month, your food costs go up. If you're running a job where you have to travel and you see the tariff hit or a war somewhere hit and your gas prices go up and it goes up double. So now you have to pay for much more expensive on gas or whatever the case may be. Like it could really happen within a month. So that 40% realistically can come down to 25 to 35% in gross profit margin. So you have to take into consideration that things that can happen. And then over hiring, that's a main reason too. The last episode we did, or a couple episodes ago, we're talking about, are you really busy or you're just tired? You know what I mean? So before hiring, does it really make sense for you to hire that extra person to do the sending out invoices, or that person that you already have, can they take on that extra role that can really fit in their schedule? And instead of hiring a full-time person that can do that job, just having a subcontractor that you don't have to pay payroll taxes on top of hiring a person, whatever the case may be. And underpricing is another huge problem that you see on Inspire Method as well. That underpricing, they think, hey, I'm overcharging these clients, the profit margin, like I said, is too high for my industry, but they 99% of the time, business owner underestimate how much they can charge and overestimate how much the profit margin they can be at. So underpricing, overhiring, and the last one would be financial visibility. So they don't have a bookkeeper that works with them every month. They don't have at that level. They don't have a CPA working with them every 2 weeks, every month to look at their financial decision. They have an accountant that file the year end at the end of the year end at whatever month that you have your year end at, and make the decision right then, when they should have that help on the ongoing monthly, that you can make that decision right away instead of waiting 12 months later. Right? I should have done that. I should have done this, but because you didn't have any numbers to work with.
Right. They're essentially running their business blind.
Exactly. They're running a really big business now at over $1 million. Not knowing the financial on a monthly basis is a huge disadvantage compared to your competition. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So what should a $1 million business look like?
We would like to have you at minimum 35% gross profit margin, and from 15 to 20% net profit is where we want to have you at. And at that profit margin, you can sustain a reasonable owner's take home, be able to pay all of the taxes that your business own, and the taxes that you as a business owner own as well. So at 20% net profit margin, 30 to 40% gross profit margin is what we want to see you at.
And that supports the owner.
That's right. That support the owner, very sustainable for the business to keep growing at that rate.
Excellent. So what's the biggest takeaway that entrepreneurs can take from this?
Stop chasing big revenue. It's not how much you make, but it's how much you actually be able to keep.
Nice. I like that. So a smaller business could actually be more profitable.
1,000%. So
Yeah.
if you really know your numbers, you really look at your gross profit margin, your net profit margin, a business that generate $500,000 in revenue can be at a much stronger position than $1 million or $2 million business.
Wow.
That we've seen it time and time again.
Really?
That is usually the case. So growing too fast and not knowing your numbers and not knowing your gross profit margin, your net profit margin can really do you more harm than good.
Yeah. Excellent. So in order for businesses to not be blind, should they call Always Bookkeeping?
Yeah, call us at 780-554-8356. Like I always said, the first initial consult is free. Reach out to us, book a first initial consult. We'll take a look at your books, let you know if you are within a healthy margin for your business. If not, then what can we do to help? So reach out to us again, 780-554-8356. Email us at info@alwaysbookkeeping.ca or book your initial consult on our website at www.alwaysbookkeeping.ca.
Perfect. Thank you so much, as always, for the expert information. I learned so much. And if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe so that you get the next video as soon as it's out. And if you know an entrepreneur who has some questions or is struggling in their business, even though they might have $1 million business, share this with them and hopefully they can learn some stuff too. And maybe call Always Bookkeeping.
Yeah, call us. And thank you so much for watching, as always, you guys. So leave a comment or like the video if you enjoy the content, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you.